So we'll try and show you. It's very important that you get the steering wheel straight when doing an alignment. So you clamp the steering wheel off and you have a spirit level on there to make sure that it's done. That's the first part of the alignment. If you don't clamp the steering wheel straight, you're not going to have it straight. The alignment is going to be poor. Then we have to set up all the gauges. Just going to get you set up so you can see putting all the gauges on. So the next stage is to get all the gauges set. It'd be much better if I could have somebody filming this who was moving around with a camera and showing where better angles, better views. We do aim to do that as time goes on. So I'm hoping that you will see improvement in that area. As I say, we'll give Aidan the camera and see if he likes doing some filming, and obviously I can film him as well, depending on who's doing the job. So these are a 3-point clamp system. It's a computer alignment system. So it grips on to the tyres. Just have to be careful to make sure you don't scratch anything when you're putting it on, and obviously keep it central. It's also very important that you've got movement in both directions on the turn plates, because if not, the movements that you're making on the alignment will not be correct. Again, an alignment is only as good as the person who's actually doing the alignment. If the person doing the alignment doesn't set it up correctly, doesn't have it on the turn plates correctly, doesn't clamp the steering wheel off, then your alignment's basically pointless. You have to make sure that everything is set and done as it should be. We're using a super tracker system. It's really good for when you're using a 2-post lift and turn plates and tracking tables. It takes a bit longer to set up than a drive-on 4-post ramp, but we don't have access to a 4-post ramp here or the room. We have to have a 2-post for how our workshop is set up. I would like an alignment ramp, but it's just not going to happen. Not while we only have 1 unit anyway. Possibly if we get next door, we may go into 2. So all 4 gauges are now on. Again, what I'm going to do is take you over to the alignment computer. So remember, we've got the steering wheel all clamped off. We've got the gauges all on and leveled with a green light in the middle. And then what we need to do is come over to the alignment system. So we need to choose Subaru Impreza. And on here we are on a 2-litre, so we are on a 2000, so it's a classic. 2-litre turbo. Just need to make sure we find the right model on here. Right, these are the later ones, so let's go to the other Impreza. Nope, that's the newer ones. So they are in here somewhere. 2-litre other models, 2-litre turbo, that's the later one. 94 to 2000, it's not an estate, so 2-litre turbo, right hand drive, 94 to 2000, there we go. So you need to make sure that you select the right one. Shows you there at the top, 2-litre turbo, right hand drive, 94 to 2000, which is what it is, the last of the classics. And we need to also tell it that we're running, I think they're 18-inch wheels, let's just check. Could be 17s. Yep, they are 17s. So set it at 17-inch wheels and click next. There we go, now we are, and look at the rear. We're out nearly 18 mil, which is to be expected. I mean, the front is also out a mile as well, but that is to do with the rear. Your rear alterations will alter what the front's saying as well. So what we need to do is move this slightly over here and just make sure I don't unplug it. And we have a tangled cable. we go. I need to move that where it can be seen. Just going to set you back on the tripod. It's going to be difficult, basically. You're not going to be able to see the readings and me adjusting, but I'm going to go under now. And once we reset the rear, that torch is dying. But I can see that was mainly for you guys anyway. So what we need to do is we need to get the toe right and the camber. So the first thing to do on these is to wind the outer nuts so that you can play nice and easily with the adjustment. You don't want to be hitting those all the time. They are a little bit finicky, these, because some turn, you have to turn some backwards and some forwards depending on where the arms are. I mean, the right hand side, we're pretty much perfect. We've got 1.28 degrees of camber, so just under 1.5 degrees of camber, which is what you should want. And the toe is more or less bang on. So mainly it's this side where we weigh out. The toe is a fair distance out. But that is easily sorted with adjustable arms, as you can see. But what you need to do is, obviously, we're adjusting toe and camber on the rear with these adjustments, because you don't normally have camber adjustment. So what we need to do is get the toe somewhere close. So the toe is somewhere close now, and what we need to do is match off the cambers. We need to move the camber in slightly on this side, so we need to basically pull it in on both adjustments, on front and rear, because we need to keep the toe the same, but we need to get the camber matching the other side and within tolerance, which is what we're now doing. Just, I have caught the nut that I didn't fully move out of the way. So we are now getting relatively close. So we're now perfect. I'm just going to take you forward so we can show you what we've got readings wise now. So the camber is pretty much 1.5 degrees on both sides. It's just flickering 1.29, 1.3, so we're matched off there, and both toes are on 0.3, which is well in tolerance, well acceptable. Could be, the specification is to be bang zero in the middle, which I can adjust it a slight bit more, but I like to have ever so slight bit of positive toe on the rear. I find the handle better that way. So what we need to do now is lock the rear off and then go to the front. Just wanted to show you the readings so you could see the adjustment and how it had worked. Again, I'd prefer for somebody to be under filming with me, showing the adjustments with a different camera. That will be something that comes at a later date, when we have the ability to do more of that. So now it's a case of locking all the locking bolts off, which we're now doing. Done by hand first, This is like a little spring washer, so you can nip them to the spring washer and make sure that your readings are still the same on screen, because they can move slightly as you're nipping things. And then they just need a final nip with a socket, with a spanner, and we are getting a little bit of movement. But to be honest with you, when I'm locking these off, the 0.3 it's taking to 0.1, but then as I've locked the back ones off, it has moved that a little bit more anyway. So it's gone back. So as you lock them off, they do just move ever so slightly. But I want it on 0.3 on both sides. So that's what I've just done. Just adjusted slightly. There we go. So that is 0.3. So everything is now locked off. You always get movements. They have now moved to 0.04, which is 0.4 of a millimetre. So that's really minor. I'm going to try. You can see I have a lower screen. So I'm going to set you up here so you can see me adjusting on the front. So now we've locked all the rear off. It's asking me to level the heads up again. So we have moved ever so slightly. When I were probably locking off the rear bolts, the car just moved slightly. So they are now all level again. Just make sure I don't kick the camera. So now we're on to the front adjustment, which you can see now we've altered the rear, the front's a lot closer than it was before. Because it's a 4-wheel camera system, altering the rear alters the front. You always set the rear up first to get everything straight on the rear, and then with the steering wheel clamped off straight, you go to front, do the front adjustments, and then this will drive perfectly straight. Just move my mechanics board through. I believe under here we'll be on 19 mils. To be honest with you, we may need some heat on this front area because the tractor ends are not new. They may be free and they may move, but looking at them, I'm guessing they're not. They look fairly ropey. So I'm going to grab 17 and 19 mil. Because I'm not sure which one it is. Pretty sure they're a 19. And the mole grips. And a wire brush, and we'll see if we can crack these off. Just check you've still got everything in shot. You'll be able to just about see me working away under here, but you'll be able to see the adjustment on screen. So these are a 19 mil, but a fairly corroded one. So I'm not sure whether or not. Oh, so the nut's free on this side at least. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to move the nut on the bar. So what we'll do on that is lock the bar off with the mole grips and then see if we can move the nut. No. So we are going to need some heat. Now the issue with putting heat on these is we then have to wait for them to cool before. So that one has cracked off as well, but because we're going to have to heat up the nuts to move them, we're going to have to wait for them to cool down then when we set them. Because if you set them with while they're hot, it will be different. I've actually got some movement on this side, so let's see what we can do. Now I have set myself so I can't see my own adjustments here because I've set it so you can see them. So let's see what I can do. I'm going to have to move it slightly just so I can see it. So we're on 0.90. I am just going to come out and see if I can set it in a position where we can both see it. Because if you can't see it and I can't see it, then that's a bit pointless. So what I'm going to do, hopefully, you can see them adjusting now. And I'm also in a position where I can see them. If I knew what I was doing with screen recording and things, I could possibly do a screen record for the alignment settings, but that's something I'm guessing I'd need software for. So on this side, we need to wind the nut back a bit. I mean, the rear was nice and easy to adjust, it's all free because it's all brand new, but the front is obviously old. And the nuts are pretty much seized on the bars, even though they've cracked off. But I've got a bit of movement on this one, so I may be able to just about do it without heat, which will mean it's quicker. So this side we've done, and that is locked off again. This side I don't believe I'm going to be able to do without heat, but I will have another go. You never know, I may get it to budge a little bit. No, we're definitely going to need heat on this side, because we're not lucky enough that it's going to go into the right place. So we're going to have to put a little bit of heat on. I don't like using oxy-acetylene on alignments, but the only way we can do this one is by using it. There is, I mean, I could advise him to have new tie rods and new track rod ends, but again, we're then getting into the realms of cost. And it may be something that he wants to rebuild the front after we've rebuilt the rear, but I would guess not all at the same time, for obvious reasons. So what I'm going to do is use the oxy-acetylene to heat up the nut just ever so slightly, because then what that will do is it will allow us to do the adjustment. But once we've got the nut moving, we will then have to wait for it to cool back down, and you can watch the actual settings change, because you will see that when I heat this up, it's currently on 1, and as I heat this up it will change, because metal expands with heat. I don't want to put much heat in if I can help it. But you can already see it's gone to 0.6. So I'm just going to see if we can get that to move now. Oh yes, just. That is still mega tight though. To be honest, let's see. See, that as it cools now is going to move, and I am going to have to adjust the other side, because as I say, all the sides are connected, so when you adjust one you have to adjust the other. So this one, luckily we have got some movement on. Now, that one is on 0, that one is on 0.2, minus 0.2 mil. I shouldn't need the heat again, as long as when it cools it will still move. But we'll probably see that adjust itself ever so slightly. I mean, looking at the front, this could do with lower arms. So I'm guessing we're going to have to do some front end work on this. We painted it 2 years ago, put new arches in it, new outer sills, new inner sills. Did a bit of welding on the rear, so it's solid as a rock, other than one patch under here which does need a little bit welded at the front that wasn't bad last year, but that needs doing for the test. And sadly it is now just a case of waiting. It's not adjusting much, but the heat always makes it move slightly. And if I set this, I know it's going to move. Let's see if we can still move it as it's cooling. Possibly not. I'm possibly going to have to heat this again. It's not ideal, but we don't have a choice. It's so corroded. It's just spinning again in the mold grips. It's been a reasonable video, this one, up until this point, and now, I mean, I'm really struggling to get the alignment done, but I have managed to get it to move. I didn't want to put more heat on, so if we can get it locked off at this, it's not too bad. I think what we're going to have to do with this is get it somewhere close and then fit some new parts, like new track rod ends, tie rods, refurb the front end like we have done the rear. That will allow us, yeah, I'm gonna have to, I'm really struggling to get this locked off. It just doesn't want to do it. So I am going to have to put a bit more heat on and then wait again. And the issue I've got here is, what I need to try and do is know where the tracking needs to be when it's cold, and then put it there, and then move the nut when it's hot, but so it settles in the right place when it's cold. Which yep, this is one that I can set the rear up, but it's going to be pretty difficult to get the front right. It's not going to be impossible, but it's painstakingly annoyingly. That is now fairly locked off. And I'm hoping when it cools, it will probably land about 0. At the minute it's on minus 0.2 mil. So it's just a case of letting that cool. If that cools, what I'm basically going to do is, this is now locked off and it's at 0.2-ish. And then the other side that I can move will match it off so that it dries perfectly straight, and then we'll have to replace parts. If we can get this to lock off at -1, I reckon that is what the other one will cool to. It doesn't help that these move when you lock them off anyway, so each time you try and set anything, it does move. So you can see the other side's cooling now. There's possibly some plain tie rods anyway, because as I'm moving this side, that side does seem to be moving its adjustment ever so slightly. So So they're both locked off now, and I'm hoping I'm going to cut out some time of cooling for you, but once this is cooled, they should both settle on minus 0.1 of a mil, which should give us minus 0.2 total, which is pretty much bang in the middle of tolerance. Both cambers are in green. I think we're pretty much getting there now. There we go, you can see it starts to flicker between 2 and 1 as it cools. I'm hoping that they both then stay on that. I'm going to come out because I believe my job under here is done, because they are both locked off and they're both matching. It's been a long day. I am going to be glad to get home. I'm hoping that you can see both of the readings. I'm just going to move you slightly. There we go. Hopefully that has done its cooling now. And to be fair, this is pretty much a spot on alignment now, but I would still advise all the front end to be changed. The bottom arms are very rusty and ropey, so for me it wants a pair of front arms, which I'd advise the Super Pro alloy upgrade if there's any stock and they're available. And as long as they are, a pair of those alloy arms, tie rods and track rod ends, and then the underneath then with a final bit of welding and the paint job we did a couple of years ago, and all the new suspension parts on the rear. Got a pretty good year 2000 classic that was ropey when it came in a couple of days ago, but she should be leaving us in very good condition. I've got it fairly close, which was difficult when everything was seized. So I'm pretty happy with that. It is staying. So it's within 0.1 of a mil. I mean, this is easily acceptable, but having OCD, they need to match for me. But I'm not going to go under and start fighting over 0.1 of a mil with seized settings, seized bars. If it wasn't seized, I'd go back under and redo that, but we're pretty much there now. I just need to lift it up and put the exhaust back on. And then other than the welding, she's ready to go for an MOT. So that's the Subaru Impreza rear suspension all sorted with the full Hardrace arm kit installed and the second-hand subframe. Hopefully you picked up a few tips if you're tackling the job yourself, or at least enjoyed seeing the process. If you've got any questions, drop them down in the comments and I'll do my best to help. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss the next project we've got coming up. We've got plenty more work lined up on this Impreza as well as other builds in the garage. Thanks for watching and we'll catch you on the next one.